go up for the next 7 minutes with Mr. Baylis.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. I'd like to continue along the line of questions that we were doing. Leave EU. Who was in charge of Leave EU?
So that was a campaign that was led by Nigel Farage and supported by Aaron Banks, businessman, and Andy Wigmore was the communications director of Leave.eu. There were competing forces in the UK were seeking to get the nomination to be the official designated no campaign. I believe the reason there ended up being these two entities is Vote Leave seemed to be led by Eurosceptic politicians in the Conservative Party and the Labour Party.
Who was Vote Leave led by?
So Dominic Cummings was the sort of communications director, but Vote Leave, the leading political figures in Vote Leave were Eurosceptic members of the Conservative Party and the Labour Party. So Boris Johnson, Michael Gove were the sort of political figureheads of Vote Leave when the referendum was called, but the executive leadership of it came from people like Matthew Elliott and Dominic Cummings.
If I understand something here, and what I'd like to do, just to simplify it, I think we only have three entities working here. There's a number of names and a number of different groups in that, but I really think there's three entities. The Russians, the Brexit vote, call it Vote Leave, Be Leave, Leave EU, Veterans, DUP, and then you have a group called SCL, you have Cambridge Analytica, you have AIQ. So there's three groups. Now, to my understanding, Leave EU began the discussions with SCL and Cambridge Analytica before they did not win. So they had already set in place a series of motions. Is that correct, that they had begun these discussions?
Yes, and more than discussions. So we were told by Brittany Kaiser that Steve Bannon introduced Cambridge Analytica to Aaron Banks. That was the connection there. And that they worked up detailed plans for how Cambridge Analytica would run the referendum campaign for Leave.eu if they got the nomination.